My name is Ray Mattis, President and CEO of Retail Alliance, and I welcome you this morning, Friday, April the 24th. The sun is up in the eastern part of the state, so things are looking up. Oh, except off my phone. So who we have here today is Kate Baker and Jody Roth. They are our chief lobbyists that represent the Virginia Retail Federation. The Virginia Retail Federation is a 501c6 that is jointly owned by the Retail Merchants Association of Richmond as well as Retail Alliance. And it lobbies on behalf of small retailers as well as big box retailers. Jody and Kate have vast amounts of experience. They basically live up in the General Assembly. They keep their fingers on the pulse of what's coming down. So we're very fortunate to have them with us today, and they will be giving us an update on state as well as federal initiatives as it relates to the coronavirus. In addition to Kate and Jody, we also have Misty Lineberger with Pixel Financial Group. She's been with us in the last couple of briefings in order to help chart the way through the various different relief measures, particularly in the CARES Act, PPP loan application, and things of that nature. But we're very fortunate to have with us is Terry Ruby, who is with Blue Ridge Bank. As you can imagine, that banks are swamped. The president's supposed to be signing the most recent stimulus package, and the PPP applications are hitting the banks already as we speak. And we're very fortunate to have Terry Ruby with us to help us walk and guide us through this process. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Terry, if Terry is with us. Is Terry with us yet?
I don't see her dialed in. Why don't you go ahead and start with Kate, Jody, and then we'll let her go
We'll
ahead.
do that. If you could maybe give her a call.
Ours will be quick.
Okay, so let's go ahead and turn it over to you, Kate, and Jody.
So as Ray said, the both Senate and House have passed the fourth installment of stimulus package, which is going to infuse money into the PPP for additional loans for small business. The biggest thing that our members need to realize is that this money is probably going to run out again. So if you haven't already done so, you need to get your applications in ASAP so you can get your place in line and have a better chance of receiving a loan before this money does run out. The president hasn't signed it yet, but the talk is that he will be signing it later today, is what we've heard from our counterparts up in DC. Jody, do you have anything else to add? I mean, that's really all that's going on the federal level right now.
Yeah,
Congress,
that's the only update we have as of today.
Yeah. I mean, there's talk about them doing more later on, but Congress doesn't come back until I think May 4th. So that's, several days away, and then they'll be negotiating whatever other stimulus that they're planning on doing for several days again. So, and then on the state, what?
Go ahead.
On the state level, what Jody and I have been working on the past week and a half is stuff to do with veto session, where the governor comes back with amendments to bills that passed from the 2020 General Assembly session, and any vetoes that he had, the General Assembly has to approve the amendments or the veto. One of the amendments that's most impactful to our members is the delay in the minimum wage increase. So initially, when it passed the General Assembly, it was supposed to go into effect January 1, 2021. And the governor amended it to go into effect May 1st, 2021. So there's about a 5-month delay there, which we opposed a minimum wage increase, but any little bit of delay is helpful to business because of the state of the economy right now. And then also Jody and I continue to be engaged in conversations on how and when the state will open back up. representing our members in those conversations, and hope that there will be some sort of plan in the coming weeks that the governor announces, so that our members can start to get prepared when that does take place. Anything else, Jody or Ray, you have any questions?
Any tax relief or pushing out? I understand that the city of Virginia Beach as well as Norfolk is going to be
So
doing the personal property tax. Is that
right. Some
also-
localities have taken it upon themselves to do that kind of thing. At the state level, I mean, Jody and I have been in conversations asking where, I mean, the sales tax that was just due on the 20th. I mean, we asked for that to be pushed back again. You know, the state has to have a balanced budget, and that's their argument, that they need that money coming in order to be able to move forward July 1 with their balanced budget. It's a, you know, everybody needs a balanced budget right now. So, I mean, we're trying to get any sort of relief we can for our members and continuing to have those conversations on a daily basis.
Any indication that the governor may be easing up on the stay at home? I mean, do you still see that it's going to be May 5th?
Well, so
June,
Executive
rather.
Order 53 was extended to May 8th. And then the stay-at-home order is still June 10th. I don't see the stay-at-home order changing. The Executive Order 53 is what businesses are allowed to operate and how they're allowed to operate. That is in effect until May 8th. The governor has also made it clear that he is going to follow the guidelines from the president on the 14-day decline and that kind of stuff before he starts opening up the economy. And Virginia's not there yet. So, I mean, May 8th may get pushed back potentially. Wouldn't you agree, Jody?
Yeah.
Anything else to add, Jody?
I'm joining in on calls now until next Friday with the Secretary of Commerce and Trade that he has put together with other trade associations discussing how to proceed with a gradual phase-in opening for business. We had a call Wednesday, and a lot of, it was more of a run-through from the secretary and his deputies, and there was like 10 minutes left, and he took a few questions, and it was mainly an ask for us to start emailing suggestions and share information that we've learned from our peers in other states and how other states are going about doing it, and what our suggestions would be that would provide a safe avenue for not only our members but the community to get Virginia open again for business. We're going to have 2 more calls next week, and it's my understanding their hope is to have something in play, some sort of strategy in place by the end of next week, which seems really quick for me to wrap my head around how they're going to do that, come up with something that fast, but we'll see. So maybe by next Friday, who knows, I'll have more information to share on that.
The sooner they get a strategy, the sooner our members can start preparing for whenever the governor lifts Executive Order 53.
Yeah, I understand there is a task force that's out there. Our own Jenny has been asked to serve on that.
Correct. She's on a separate one that I am on. She's on the one that is mostly businesses only, and then they're doing a separate call with trade associations.
We have shared our survey results with her, and once she does get some of the options that are being discussed, I'm going to request that our communications team, through Kylie's efforts, send out a new survey to our members as far as the options that they would prefer to follow. Have you heard of anything about any type of rent or mortgage relief?
Yeah, I was going to answer that question. I just saw it pop through. That's something that Jody and I have been talking about on the state level as well as the federal level. There's been no bite on it, but it is something that, you know, not just retail is asking for. And it's something that's being discussed, and hopefully, either on the state or federal level, there will be some sort of relief, but that has not happened yet.
Anything else from the legislative side? Well, I want to thank you both, Kate and Jody, and of course the VRF. The VRF will be having a board meeting next week, and I'm sure there's going to be more information coming up out of that.
Yeah, and everybody wish Kate well. She won't be on this next Friday. We'll have baby girl Baker with us this time next week.
Yeah, we're very proud of Kate. That's a great family. Good luck on that one, Kate.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
So I
Thank you.
understand that we do have Terry Ruby on the phone. She is from Blue Ridge Bank. Terry, I want to really thank you for joining us this morning. There have been a lot of questions regarding the PPP application process. Just for your own edification, Terry, we also have Misty Lineberger with Pixel Financial Group, who is an accountant, and she's been trying to help us get through the challenges as far as the application process as well. And in the past, there have been some questions regarding the PPP, and we really needed a banker to answer these. And we're very fortunate, and we welcome you. So Terry, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. No, Terry?
Yes, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for the invite. There has been a lot of questions. There's a lot of, even what we have is, vagueness on guidance from the SBA, but, we've gone with what the SBA provided after the first round of guidance. And we have been trying to guide all of our clients, local and even some, out of state, on how to be able to put it together to get it done quickly for the approval. I think probably, one thing that has scared most businesses is that they have, particularly if they're at a larger regional bank, they're not able to get answers, or they feel like that they have been approved in the first round, but the golden ticket is to have that SBA number. Every bank that is an SBA provider that is doing the PPP loan has a portal through Intran that they're submitting after they're reviewing documents for the approval. Approvals come back, immediately, as long as there was funds available. And from that time that a business has an SBA approval, the bank or the financial institution has 10 days to fund it from there. So round one, our bank, like many other banks, just tried to get as many people processed as possible to get the SBA approval. Unfortunately, for our office in Norfolk, every single client and business that we had on our list had the SBA approvals. So now we're working other lists from markets even larger than ours to try to get them done. It's so happy to answer any questions. I can tell you that, if you have a payroll employer like Paychex or ADP or Gusto, most of those large providers are putting together a really nice spreadsheet so that we can get through them quickly. In lieu of that, 941s are helpful. The other thing that I can say is that less is more. When, I open up a file to work with a client and they've, would rather give you a whole lot of information for you to weed through instead of just what you need. It takes a little bit longer to find the right document. So, if you're a business and you're applying, if you have your 941s or your Paychex or ADP or Gusto or a CPA that's prepared what you qualify for, that certainly helps a whole lot. Other than that, it's really the magnitude of the applications is incredible. Most banks, like our bank, we're working every day. We're working at least 12 hours a day, every day through the weekend since April 1st, and we are helping as many people as we possibly can. Banks that are used to being very high touch in customer service, we've had to adapt because what we have to do is take one, get it over the finish line, and go back and take another one. And in the meantime, we get thousands of phone calls, text messages, emails that say, hey, can you just check? I just completed my application. If I put it in everything I needed, and we're not able to respond because if we keep going back and checking everybody when they put the application in, we're not going to get them to the finish line. So we are just working as quick as we can, like most banks are. But happy to answer any questions you have, the best of my ability.
One question is from Lisa Bay. She had an SBA number. Does that equate approval? My bank just notified me the first round of funds was missed, and they will push us through for the next round.
Well, if she has an SBA number, she should be fine. So the approval process is two things. Is that for me to get a loan to the finish line, I have to review all of the documents provided, and then I have to approve it on behalf of the bank that I've reviewed the documents, that the business qualifies, and then it's submitted into SBA. A lot of people got caught in the middle because they didn't have the SBA number. We've provided to our customers that we have gotten their approval. When we let them know we have your SBA approval, we send them a copy so they have the actual SBA number to be able to keep, to know that they're good and feel comfortable that, funding is going to come, within the next 10 days. So that question on the if I have an SBA number, if they have an SBA number, they don't have to wait for second round funding. That means money is reserved at the SBA already for them in the first round.
Good. Do you suggest that people open up a separate account to keep the SBA funds in there so that when they go back and apply for forgiveness, they have the proper information and the verification and the qualified use of the funds?
Yes, we are recommending that you keep this separate from your operating account. And, it's not required. Our thought is that at least you will have all of the information that the funds have been deposited, and you'll have all of your records in one account on what the funds were used for, instead of commingling it with your operating account.
Charlita had just a comment. She also added that the SBA has helped with loans by not taking out payments for this month. And I guess that's in their attempt to try to help the small businesses. Another question, and this is really from Misty. CPAs are also recommending separate accounts for PP. That's not really a question. That was more of a statement, I believe. Do we have any other questions for Terry? Okay. I'm on the website looking for your application and can't find it. I applied in the first round, but did not get an SBA number. I feel like I need to submit again with a smaller amount.
The person that asked, are they saying that they submitted at Blue Ridge Bank or their own bank?
I believe it's from Connor McGee.
And one thing is that if they submitted, our bank or any bank, one thing that's kind of clogging up the system a little bit is that people are applying multiple times. So we might think we have 4,000 applications, but we may really only have 3,000 applications to look at, because people are doing it 2 and 3 times, and they're also shotgunning, and they're applying at multiple banks to just try to get whoever comes first for them done, which I certainly understand. However, it will, once you have that SBA number from where you've applied, it will prevent you from anybody else getting an SBA number. So I've had folks that came to us because they couldn't talk to anybody on the phone, and we were answering our phone, and we were talking to them, and we were helping them through the process, and then we submitted it, and it was rejected because a bank that maybe they had submitted their application to might not have been as communicative as Blue Ridge Bank, but they already were reserved at that bank with an SBA number.
I think in Connor's point is that he did apply for it for the first round. He wasn't issued an SBA number, and his question is really, since he does not have an SBA number, should he go ahead and submit again with a smaller community bank?
My answer to that would be no, because don't get it at the end of the line somewhere else, is that for us is when the funds ran out last Thursday morning, we reached out to everybody remaining that was in our pipeline to review their application and get them approved, and just emailed everybody and said, look, do you want us to continue with your application come round 2? And the majority of everybody came back and said, yes, please, absolutely. So wherever Connor has applied, I would try to find out if he could be next in line at his bank before he jumps ship, to see if he can find out that is he teed up to be reviewed and pushed forward with the new funding.
Another question was, they were wondering if the EIDL loan goes through the same process as the PPP loan.
No, they're two different programs, and the best way to get information on each program is to go directly to SBA.gov. Is that the EIDL program is something that a business applies directly through the SBA and can be done online. They do have a help center link for questions, and they do have a phone number. Some of our customers have been able to get through, and actually several have been funded with that. But that particular program, they're applying through the SBA. There is some financial information required, some guarantees. My understanding that rate is 3.75% for businesses. And that is a program directly through the SBA that is significantly different than the PPP program.
And Pam has a question regarding the number. Are we referring to the number, the one used to submit the requested documents?
No, there's probably two numbers. Is that most banks have set up a portal like we have, so that you've got a loan application number that you've completed in the portal, and that is most likely separate from the SBA number. You can get from your bank, once they've approved it and they submit it to the SBA, the specific SBA number that shows that they have their approval.
Okay. And we have another question from Jenny Crittenton. I have a business owner that forgot to check the 10,000 K box. Can she amend, or does she need to start her application over?
First question, what it sounds to me is that she doesn't have her SBA, so she should be able to modify her existing application.
Okay.
If it's already gone through the SBA, you definitely don't want to reapply. If it's sitting in a bank, in a portal, or in a pipeline, and you realize you missed something, then you should be able to still go back in and correct it.
Okay. When should our businesses, small businesses, begin the application for forgiveness?
We're waiting on final direction on that. Is that with the information we were provided from the SBA on guidance right after the first round was approved, and that was actually the night before. We got that late on Thursday night, and Friday we were able to start accepting applications. It said more information to follow from the SBA. Our understanding is that their 8-week period of time, that clock starts as soon as you've received your funds. So at minimum, to go back to your bank and provide the information for forgiveness, it's going to be 8 weeks from the time you receive the money. Also, too, is that if you'll have a really hard time if you've received your money and you have questions after round 2 starts up again, probably being able to talk to a banker, because the bankers are all going to be dedicated to get more people approved. So those questions, I would just recommend you hold off, keep good records. I also think, keeping a separate account's good is not required, but keep very good records and be prepared for those conversations 8 weeks from now. But I'm getting a lot of people that got their money and they really want clarity, because having it forgiven is so important, and we don't have the full clarity. We've got some good information that we can share, the direction, but it's not full clarity. And the other thing too is just to remember in conversations that we've had with borrowers, they're really afraid that are their own banks going to help them with the forgiveness piece, because, you know, maybe it would benefit a bank is if they aren't totally forgiven, then the bank ends up with a loan. I can tell you and speak for all banks and bankers, no bank wants a 1% loan out there, and they're going to work really hard to make sure you have your documentation for forgiveness to be able to help you as a business. You know, that's going to be our goal, is we're going to make sure that we can help you every way possible to have as much, if not all, forgiven.
There's been a lot of questions out there. I'm sure there's going to be some more. I got one more question, and that is, let me see. Are proper records the copies of bank draws and payroll records?
Right now, we could assume so. We're assuming that as long as it's used for payroll and you can show that some sort of documentation to show that you use the money towards payroll. I'm assuming those records would include, if you have a payroll company, that they'll show that they've debited your account for that amount and who has been credited for employees, if you use QuickBooks. But I just think as long as you have reasonable records to show how you use the money, you're going to be fine.
So this second round also has 25% that can be applied to, like, utilities and mortgage and rent, correct?
We're assuming so, but we're waiting for the guidance for round 2. We're assuming that this is just more money and it's going to be given out the same way. We all believe is that it would really make what is very difficult to clarify even more difficult if round 2 has any different rules than the first one had. We're assuming this is just more funding available for the same program.
Yeah, and as to Lisa Bay, yes, your understanding for forgiveness, I believe, is correct. 75% of the money must be used towards payroll, as Terry just mentioned. Another question that we have is, let's see, are the funds split between large and small financial institutions so the smaller banks get a fair portion of the funds?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I think the question is how the funds are being split between the banks, between the large banks and the smaller community financial institutions. So do the smaller banks get a fair portion of the funds compared to, for instance, a Truist or a Wells Fargo?
So from what we understand, and there may be with round 2 some specific guidelines that will provide community banks maybe more of that share. The first round, it was really first come, first serve. So didn't matter if I was a community bank or if I was a national bank. If I submitted to E-Tran, I got the approval. So I don't know. I have read that they're going to try to proportion more of this money to be used from a community bank, as they seem to be serving smaller businesses better. I don't have anything official. Now, I just got notice from our bank is that there's going to be a White House signing ceremony for the new money at noon today. And then with that said, that we're expecting that the E-Tran reopens this afternoon to be able to start getting more SBA approvals.
What about self-employed individuals who are not on traditional payroll but take draws? There are not payroll records in this case, so.
Well, I'll tell you, there's been a lot of question on that, and from our understanding, since it can't be included as part of the business because there isn't payroll records, that's when, as of April 10th, independent contractors were allowed to apply and use their 1099 and Schedule Cs. You know, unfortunately for those folks, they were allowed to apply beginning April 10th, and by April 12th in the morning, the money was all dried up. But that is our understanding, and we're hoping for more clarity on that, because that's been a big source of argument on what they're able to include. You know, can I include my K-1s? Can I, you know, and there's a lot of interpretation between the banks on what you're allowed to use and not.
Do you think that there's any special consideration with, as it relates to the PPPs, with the size of the business or whether they're minority owned or women owned?
I don't think there's any, I'm answering, you know, for our bank, is that I don't think that there's you know, for us, I mean, we're not banking Ruth Chris, you know, and we're not banking the Shake Shacks. We have all of the local businesses in there, but in no part is there ever a question asked in the application: are you minority owned or woman owned? You know, and we're really just trying to be fair on first come, first serve. Is that your request may only be 5,000, and the one behind you might be 200,000, and can help more employees. But you know, it's really not pick and choose. It's just getting through and helping as many people as possible.
I think just to add on to that,
I think, has Ray got an issue with his audio?
Looks like he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Yes, okay, I think he's back on now. Ray, you froze for a little while.
oh, I said, do we have any other questions for Terry? So Terry, I want to thank you very much for being a part of us this morning. I hope you can hang around. I'm going to turn it over to Misty from Pixel Financial Group. She's going to talk about the PPPs from an accounting perspective. I'm sure there could be some other questions for you, Terry. So I hope that you can hang around, and let me go ahead and hand this over to Misty.
Hi, everyone. Misty here with Pixel Financial. So just to get into some specific numbers, the new stimulus is $484 billion. Of that, $310 billion is going to the PPP, 75 to hospitals, 25 for COVID testing. And then the remainder, I assume, is going to the EIDL program. They haven't given a specific number, but that's about $74 billion not accounted for. And they did say money was going to EIDL, so I'm assuming that it's that $74 billion. This is going to run out very, very quickly. The $310 billion is actually slightly less than what they did prior in the first round. So definitely be getting all of your stuff in as quickly as possible if you haven't already. And as of this morning, just at the beginning of this call, I did check the SBA site. The EIDL application is still suspended. I'm not sure when they're going to get that up and going, but I'm going to be checking back. So some questions I get a lot on these applications, especially from my self-employed individuals who are not independent contractors. They actually own a business and maybe get multiple 1099s, if any 1099s at all. They're often asked for forms like the 940s and the 941s, and they're being told that they're being required to provide these documents. Those documents, a bank understands that a sole proprietorship with maybe one person going on there is not going to have 940s or 941s. And I also think that there's a special application that's separate for our independent and self-employed companies to fill out that maybe alleviates that form altogether. That's something maybe Terry can talk on just a minute. So I also want to address the fact that there are some differences that are happening with the second round. Lisa, I don't know about the woman-owned minority categories. I know that they're trying to fill in some holes when it comes to the businesses that are actually applying for it. How they're going to do that, I'll be learning a lot more as we go through the day. Of course, it's just like everything else. There's a lot of information to it that we're all going to have to learn very quickly. I would agree that it's more likely that they're going to be more careful about the size of the business, but I don't know about women-owned, minority-owned. But like I said, I will learn more about that a little bit later today. Now, unemployment, the pandemic unemployment assistance application is up. If you're on my Facebook pages, I have posted those links there. I should probably just go ahead and find it for you guys and post it here. If anybody's, as you all know, the self-employed who don't pay into a traditional payroll system are not going to qualify for the state level unemployment benefits. And so what we have is the state level unemployment benefits, if you qualify, is up to $378 per week. Plus the state has also pandemic unemployment assistance that adds another $600 per week onto that. Self-employed individuals not on traditional payroll are going to be denied that, but there is another link you can go to apply for the federal level pandemic unemployment assistance. I know a lot of people who have actually applied for it, but I don't know anybody who has actually been approved and received money. They haven't been rejected, they just haven't heard anything yet. So let me get that link for you here really quick so I can post it in the chat.
And Misty, if you could also talk about the payroll tax credits too.
Yes, I will talk about that, absolutely. There also, you guys, a lot of people are asking me questions about the stimulus, when they're going to receive it, why the website isn't telling them. Well, the website is overwhelmed, and some of them, it's just not accepting numbers. There's nothing I can do to fix that. There's nothing anybody can do to fix that. The system's simply overwhelmed. All I can tell you is you can talk to your tax professionals and look at what your AGI is, and they should be able to help you figure out what you're supposed to get. We have until December 31st of this year to recover that money if you don't get it. If you're not getting it directly deposited and you just can't get through to the site, they are going to be sending out paper checks. In terms of, like, for example, I have one client who has a completely different address. They don't forward this kind of stuff, so we're trying to kind of figure out what happened there. He can't seem to get onto the site. But one of the things I want to talk about is the government is not calling these stimulus checks. They're called economic impact payments. And that's really important that you understand that, so that if you receive any phone calls, emails, or even pieces of mail that call them stimulus checks, it is a scam. The government will not refer to these as stimulus check, economic impact payments. Now, there's plenty of stuff going on clearly in terms of small business relief loans. But there are some people who are just not going to qualify for these. And what are their options? There are a couple of different payroll tax credits that are available. The first one is pretty simple. Under the FMLA provisions for COVID-19, there are 5 or 6 different reasons why somebody might not be able to make it into work and you pay them. For example, there's a shelter-in-place order that requires your business to be closed and your employees have to go home. They have COVID-19, they're caring for somebody who has it. They have a dependent who usually goes to school or a daycare facility that they can no longer go, and you have to stay home to care for them. So there are a bunch of reasons why you might have to pay an employee COVID-19 paid leave. And as somebody mentioned before, the payroll companies are doing a great job of staying up on this so that you can code that separately. And it's important to code that separately because as of April 1st forward, any money that you paid into COVID paid leave is going to be completely 100% reimbursed to the employers through a payroll credit. Okay, at the end of the year, it'll go through the taxes. It'll have all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you're tracking that and make sure that it actually qualifies, because there are 6 reasons. I do have a video out there that explains all 6 reasons. I don't remember all 6 reasons off the top of my head right now, which is why I don't want to go over them. But the other payroll credit that is available, it's available to businesses of any size. It's not just small business related. But what it is if your business has income that is reduced, gross income that is reduced by 50% or more from the previous year. So for example, let's say in April, your income is decreased by 50% or more from April of last year, and it's directly related to COVID-19, you are going to receive what is called an employee retention tax credit. And what that does is it reimburses you. You get to use a credit. It creates a credit. It's kind of complicated, so I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. Example, you have an employee that is working for you and you pay, or multiple employees, and you pay $10,000 during this period of time to a qualified program. So you are a qualified business for this, meaning that your income was reduced by 50% or more. Of that $10,000, $5,000 is going to be turned into a credit. So you get 50% of the qualifying payroll up to $10,000. And what you get to do is when you file your 941s is simply not pay the employer version of the payroll taxes, so Social Security. So let's say you have $3,000 of employer taxes you have to pay. You have a $5,000 credit. You've got $2,000 left over. You will fill out a Form 7200 and request refund of the additional $2,000. So you can get up to $10,000, and then once your income increases to 80% of its previous glory, you lose the credit altogether. You cannot use this credit in conjunction with the PPP. You can only have one or the other. So that's just something to be careful about. But I think it's going to be a good tool for people who might not qualify for the PPP. But you have to be really careful. You have to have a good set of books, and you need to be working with your accounting professionals to make sure that you actually qualify for that credit. Now, what we're still working on is how are we, you're simply not paying it. You're filing your 941s, you're simply not paying those employer version of the taxes. We don't really know how we're going to be communicating with the IRS yet in terms of the fact that you're taking that credit. Instead of just simply not paying, you're actually taking the credit. I'm imagining they're going to be doing a modification of the 941, but we really don't know how that communication is happening yet, and that's just something we're still working on. In terms of the 310, again, I really think that this is going to run out really quickly. I do think that this gave the banks a little bit of a breather room to catch up and get themselves a little bit better organized. So I was really kind of like, so there's the golden outline there. So other than that, I think that pretty much covers my updates for now. I will have more as I learn more about the new bill, which I'll be working on all day today.
Thank you so much, Misty. And again, Terry Ruby, the Hampton Roads Market President with Blue Ridge Bank, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now I'd like to turn it over to our own Kylie Seibert, who's Vice President of Corporate Communications, and she's going to give you any updates on our webinars and Strive workshops and our upcoming events. So Kylie.
Great. Let me just move it back on. All right. And thank you, Misty. And we are very, very happy to say that Misty is going to be doing a webinar next week on sort of how to manage your cash flow through a crisis. And I think a lot of our members and the wider small business industry is going to need some help on that getting through. So thank you, Misty. The details are up on your screen. It is next Thursday, 9:30 a.m. And if you have any questions, please submit them to communications@retailalliance.com, or again, there will be a chat that we can discuss questions with Misty at that time, and maybe we can even get another quick update from her just on any other significant changes between now and then as well. So next Tuesday we are finalizing arrangements for another webinar, Retail Relief webinar on e-commerce. Now's the time, if you haven't already, setting up some sort of e-commerce platform to be able to shift some of the inventory that Mary Landry agreed was discussed on Tuesday. Actually, no, that was yesterday. Goodness me, I'm losing track of time. Shifting your inventory in your stores. So that is also going to be a great one. More details to follow, but that will be presented by Ad Impact Marketing. So there will also be another briefing, of course, next Friday. And yeah, as we go along, we're asking you for any ideas for topics that you may want to have an expert speaker come onto a Zoom for a webinar. So please send them through to any one of the contacts at Retail Alliance that you have, or just communications@retailalliance.com. We have got the findings of our survey that we have just, our follow-up survey. I'll share them today as well on our website, but we sent out a newsletter last night that had just a couple of the top line findings, which was quite interesting. But yeah, we will do, as Ray said, we'll probably do another follow-up survey just on a slightly different topic in the coming week or two as well. So we do want to make sure that we are in touch with you all and hear your input and how you're progressing with any of these loans. What are your issues going on with your business, and how we can help you. So that's a very important survey that we would appreciate you completing when we send it out. So I think that's pretty much it for me. We're just keeping busy.
Thank you, Kylie, and we will keep our members updated as far as the stay-at-home executive order. If the governor does choose to start easing up on some of those requirements and restrictions, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to have to pay attention to, especially our members, in order to accommodate the phase 1, phase 2. I'm sure there's going to be several different phases as we get back to opening up our businesses. We will also try to have another banker with us next week. Hopefully, Terry can join us again. I want to thank you, Amy, for recruiting Terry. It's a lot of questions with Terry. And Misty, can't tell you, welcome to the family. Misty is one of our newest members of Retail Alliance, and thank you for your expertise as well.
Thank you.
Again, with you and Joey and the communications team, reaching out to our membership, it's just keeping them updated is so important, as well as our people, Tina and Beth Cook, reaching out to our members, checking on their well-being. So with that, wash your hands. Now wear your masks, practice your social distancing, hug your families, and good luck. And we'll talk to you again next week. Thank you, guys.